Good afternoon. Welcome to New York Metro Weather's daily forecast discussion for December 31st, 2013. It's the last day of 2013. We have a lot to talk about. Just going to jump right into it here. Really, a lot of questions about the upcoming winter weather potential late this week that has really been spoken about for 5-6 days in advance, and we have seen many changes on the forecast models in terms of the evolution of the system. And so what we wanted to do here today really is take the time to kind of explain it and break it down, because as meteorologists, it sometimes becomes difficult to kind of explain and be able to get across with good explanations what is happening with the pattern and why there is so much uncertainty. And there's a reason why we're not throwing out numbers just yet, and we're going to explain why. So here is what we're looking at is the mid-levels of the atmosphere, 500 millibars on the GFS. This is a 36-hour forecast. So a couple things to look at here. First, most obviously, is our disturbance here coming out of the northern stream. This is a moderately energetic system. Then we have a southern stream piece of energy here over southeast Texas. But notice how it is elongated. It extends through the Gulf states and then out off to the Atlantic. It's actually already extending towards the baroclinic zone, which is an area offshore where coastal systems can form and strengthen. So this is running out ahead of this main disturbance here, and that's going to become a concern as we move forward. So this is now 48 hours from now, and notice how the northern stream shortwave has strengthened and is amplifying. It's digging further south into the southeast states, and it's attempting to phase, but we just have, it's just a little bit disjointed here off on the southeast coast. We have energy that is interacting with this baroclinic zone, causing precipitation here on the periphery of this ridge in the southern Atlantic. And so we have low pressure system forming here well out ahead of this main shortwave. So this being a little bit messy, it's muddling the setup a little bit. This is not a smooth phase between the two as modeled here on the GFS. So we'll move ahead. Oh, actually, let's take a look what I was talking about here, the top right panel. Here's a low pressure system. And if you look at the bottom right panel, you can see here's this precipitation off the southeast coast. So then you get two different areas of forcing. So you have this forcing here off the coast with this muddled energy, and then the main vorticity here causing another area of forcing. And then look in between, we have dry air. So that's why the models are showing almost a dry slot over parts of the area Thursday, when typically, if you were to look at this upper air setup, we would have snow spreading throughout the area. We'll move one more frame ahead from, actually, let's go back and for a reference point, we'll move one frame ahead of this. And here's the northern stream now, really extending down and phasing. But now, notice again, this southern stream energy has kind of escaped. And so what you're going to get in a situation like this is the system's really not going to be able to phase and catch up, the northern stream that is, until it is too far to the north and east. And so this is why all of the forecast models have backed off from the major phase solutions which they were showing yesterday with a significant low pressure system nearer to our area. And now they're forming a low pressure system here where the positive vorticity advection is the greatest. This is all because this lead vorticity does not phase smoothly. And you can see it here very simply. Watch this southern stream area vorticity here. There it is, shifting east, and it kind of escapes off to the north and east and continues to do so. So this is the issue. Now, as meteorologists, our job now is to just decide, is this the right depiction of what's going to happen? So here's a GFS, the next frame on a more broad look. And you can see this is a big system. The relative humidities are fairly high here over parts of the East Coast. You can see precipitation really having trouble responding because this system is very broad. There are multiple low pressure centers, and it's not very organized. So the question now becomes, is this appearing on all the models? So far today, the answer is yes. This is the Canadian RGEM, and you can see this dry slot here with, look at this, these low pressure systems off the coast, there's low pressure systems inland. This is a broad area of low pressure with no really well-defined center because of the unorganized phasing. And all the models also in the mid-levels are showing this dry slot. So we will not see precipitation falling, if this is correct, until a coastal low takes over more definitively. So kind of advertising that a little bit more. Here's the NAM. Here's our main piece of energy here coming in over Arkansas and trying to swing down to the south and east, but this is just a mess here off the southeast coast. And so the phase is sloppy, and this is where all of this uncertainty is coming from, because the forecast models have been waffling back and forth between solutions of, oh, the phase is going to be more of a clean phase, and the southern stream energy is going to be more consolidated. So we are stuck between a rock and a hard place trying to analyze this. Here's what the GFS eventually shows once the southern stream phases with the northern stream energy. You have the initial low from the mess in the southeast states extending out here to the northeast, and the secondary one redevelops here back in a more reasonable spot for us. And so we have snow extending back to the coast and what's more technically called an inverted trough. The NAM, as we were saying, talking earlier, here's this unorganized mess again in high resolution. This northern stream energy is very energetic, and so that kind of adds a little bit of concern to our forecast, because whenever you have energetic energy like this phasing along with something in the southeast states, you're just kind of on the edge of your seat, despite what the models are showing right now. And it leads us to just kind of continue to advertise the degree of uncertainty that we have here, because it's not going to take much for this to phase and bring the surface low closer to the coast. But as it is right now, you can see once this initial energy here touches off this baroclinic zone off the southeast states, the baroclinic zone is kind of pushed offshore. And so when this secondary energy comes in here, phases and forces the development of a surface low, a lot of the moisture is already shifted off to the north and east. So that's where we're at right now in terms of our thinking. Our thinking is that the big amped up and strong storm solutions with major snowfall in our area are slowly slipping out of the potential scenarios, and we're looking more at trying to pinpoint when this dry slot is going to fill in Thursday into Friday and where the banding will develop as the coastal low pushes away. And the areas that we're most concerned about are definitely to the east. So Long Island, Connecticut, areas east of New York City and north of New York City over New England, where you see, go back here for one more second, even though the models are showing the dry slot here to the north of New York City overrunning precipitation, this is a gradient between the high pressure and the low pressure. So you get the moisture coming up and overrunning here and interacting, causing precipitation there. So there's a multitude of things going on here, and it's causing a lot of this uncertainty. We're going to pull up this page and loop this one more time to advertise. So watch the southern stream here. This is the southern stream vort, and here's the northern stream coming in. You can see how intricate of a process this is, as the two are trying to interact, but the southern stream just does not really want to, and it dampens out. And you can see the initial, here's the southern stream right here, as it slides off to the east. Here's the low pressure system off the coast. And then once the two phase, they finally phase here, the baroclinic zone where the low pressure system forms has been kicked hundreds of miles to the east. So you still get some precipitation along the coast, near the New Jersey shore and Long Island. And you can see on the 700 millibar relative humidity, there's a comma head developing here on the GFS, but it's just, in general, looking more disorganized. So it's going to be about pinning down where these bands are going to develop. One more thing to look at is the SREF mean, and this is the probability of snow. So on your top left, you're looking at probability of 1 inch, top right, probability of 4 inches. And you can see the probability of an inch of snow is fairly high now, getting up to 70–80% in New Jersey, Long Island, northern New Jersey that is, and southern New Jersey a little bit less. And the 4-inch probability is increasing as well as you move forward with time here. But the concerns in our area are shifting towards the eastern parts of the area, including Long Island, the New Jersey shore, and Connecticut, for the potential for 4 to 8 inches of snow. Over New York City, areas to the west of that, the eventual outcome of this system probably won't be known for another day or so, because it's just not fair of us to assume that the forecast models can pick up on these individual nuances within the flow. And this is a very complicated situation. So hopefully watching this video has helped you to understand a little bit of what's going on and why we are so conservative and really trying to hammer down the thought that there is considerable uncertainty with this event. Make sure to stay tuned. We're still analyzing the data, and we appreciate your patience, and we'll keep you as updated as we possibly can. Thanks a lot, guys.